So President Trump issued an order for the military to take control of public lands along the U.S. Mexican border. Now, these are uh, federal lands, these are like national parks along the southern border, where the federal government actually does have jurisdiction. There is a little bit of, there is a legal can of worms, if you will, in other areas. They could be up against the border, but you can't take control of the lands that are obviously privately held, without, declaring a state of emergency. But even then, there's a debate. Just because there is martial law doesn't mean the Constitution gets suspended. And that was actually a Supreme Court case, and I don't remember what the name of the Supreme Court case was, but I do remember the Supreme Court did rule that. So within the confines of the law, President Trump has took another step in guarding the U.S. Mexican border. It's been said, there are experts that chimed in and said that they could use drones, which I think they do use drones, but there's actual surveillance systems that they could peer into the Mexican side for several miles and can monitor everything that's going on the Mexican side, so they know what's coming to the border. They can get better intel, and then also another thing that needs to be done, and this is an act of Congress, by the way, is Congress needs to pass laws making more stiff penalties for people doing things like human trafficking, and which, by the way, is a federal crime anyway, but also people who are trafficking fentanyl across the border. If somebody is trafficking a very large amount of fentanyl into the United States, it should be seen as an attack on people. It should be seen as a toxic substance that is capable of being used as a weapon of mass destruction. Fentanyl, even in a very small quantity, can actually kill a 200-pound man. I think it's a quantity as small as a grain of salt, actually, or a grain of sand. And so we're talking about the death penalty for people who bring in a large quantity of fentanyl. That amount of fentanyl is likely to kill several people in drug overdoses, and not to mention the costs in other areas in terms of maiming people, in terms of the drug addiction, etc. So it is good that those lands have been taken control of by the military to guard the United States from that direction. But there needs to be more done. We need more surveillance, and we need laws to adapt to the current situation and enforce stiffer penalties for people who are the more serious problems.